America has been the greatest gift to Jews. It has accorded us full citizenship, while simultaneously the possibility of maintaining our distinct religious identity. But alas, this spectacular binary opportunity is lost on so many. Hundreds of thousands of our youth are simply opting out of Judaism. Actually, it's simpler than, canceling your Netflix account. It's a crisis of epic proportion. Now, for decades, there have been organizations and programs dedicated to stemming this tide, literally to stop the bleed, to engage the huge number of Jews on campuses and those in the 10 or so years after graduation who call themselves in Pew Study vernacular just Jewish. No buy-in, no involvement, no interest, period. And then Menachem enters the scene, and he invents the wheel of Jewish engagement. And exactly like the classic wheel did, he changes everything. Menachem recognizes that for emerging adults and young professionals, the load of being Jewish, for various reasons, all, it seems to me, rooted in a lack of inspiring Jewish education, is too heavy or onerous or tedious or simply uninteresting to bear. So they drop it. But it doesn't have to be that way. Not if Menachem could provide the means to propel them forward Jewishly, not in compartmentalized fashion, with Judaism being an appendage, but in holistic manner, in sync with their overall self-construal. If he could provide them with wheels that they would own and connected to the platform of Jewish community and identity, snugly enough, but not too snugly, so they would feel choked and disrespected for their individuality, well, then it could work, and it did. You know, everyone wanted to do something, and a lot of people did a lot of something. But until Menachem came along, no one knew how to really do this. It was Menachem who came up with the absolutely then radical peer-to-peer model that is employed today ubiquitously by every single organization, large or small or medium, operating on campuses. They all employ the same model. Call them interns, fellows, associates, I don't care, whatever. It's his model. In doing so, Menachem invented the model that has attracted and has maintained ties with hundreds of thousands of Jews who might have otherwise been disconnected from our people. I wonder often if the world knows who invented that model, because I surely do. I remember the day Menachem came to Binghamton in 1994 to pitch JHP to my husband and myself. This is going to be embarrassing. I'm embarrassed to admit that we totally did not get what he was describing. Completely. Incentivize students to reach out to their friends, huh? Why? How? What could they possibly accomplish? This part is really embarrassing. He actually offered us money to do him the favor of trying this model. The rest, as we all know, is history. Long before sociologists coined and threw around terms like Generation X, Y, Z, Millennials, iGens, Menachem understood that the old models of institutionalized Judaism, the establishment, the denominations, the top to bottom models were all going to become much less important because this generation wanted to own their own wheels. His genius is in creating those wheels and the axle so it can be tethered to something larger than the self, all while feeling natural and not forced. Here's another very different iteration of Menachem's wheel and axle model. Menachem had the vision, and with the partnership and mammoth assistance of his good friend, Mr. George Rohr, founded Chabad on Campus International. Today, it's almost impossible to imagine the Jewish world without that critical and unstoppable organization. But let me just explain what Menachem was up against in that scenario. Chabad rabbis and rebbitzins are incredibly dedicated to the cause. No one was going to drop anything. But at the same time, no one had the ability to really see beyond the creation of their own wheel because it takes a lot of work to create your wheel. Menachem had to come along and tether those wheels to a larger structure, and again, had to do it in this really delicate way so that these independent, entrepreneurial spirits wouldn't feel like their identity and independence had been usurped, but rather recognize how this was giving them greater strength and traction in moving forward in our collective mission. Menachem employed the wheel and axle model again and again, as you will see in this presentation about the Mayan Initiative, which is being launched tonight. Tonight is an incredibly important night for the Jewish people.